Welcome back to Two Guys and a Mic podcast. This is going to be part 2 of the Owen Schroyer and Destiny debate, Kamala versus Trump. So the first part, we went through their back and forth and my comments, of course. The second part is going to be a question and answer to the audience, or from the audience, I should say. And what I want to do is also add my answers as well. Again, I have not seen this. Came across it, thought it was cool. I thought it would be a good show, and good back and forth. Get some ideas. Although I can tell you right now, I am not a fan of Destiny. Never have. I think he's a kind of a quacky loon. And as far as Owen, I never met him until I saw this video. So I have no idea what to say other than the fact that I agree with him on probably 90% of the stuff. So let's get to the back to where we were, and we shall see what comes about.
Owen, on January 6th, when Trump was saying Mike Pence really needs to come through for us, what did he want him to do?
All right, so my take on it, when Trump said that to Mike Pence, there are a lot of things that changed because of COVID. And a lot of states changed their election rules. A lot of states, were purging files due to inaccuracies. And from my take, I thought he wanted him to hold off on the kind of ratifying the vote and certifying the vote, I should say, until they figure out what all the anomalies were. And obviously, because there was nothing done, it took forever. It's starting to come out now of all these weird inconsistencies with the votes. But I think that's what it was, from what I've read and my knowledge of it. Let's see what they say.
So, leading up to the 2020 election, in the name of COVID, a bunch of states changed their election rules, and they didn't follow the actual laws to do so. They didn't go through the state legislatures. So Donald Trump wanted to have those things reviewed in a legal process, and he needed Mike Pence to refuse to certify the results so the legal investigation could play itself out, something that's happened multiple times in U.S. history. So also, they wanted to review signatures. They wanted to review mail-in ballots, which we now know, thanks to investigations that have been going on for the last 4 years, some ballots were sent from empty parking lots. Some ballots didn't even have signatures on them. And in fact, the illegal votes that were now discovered in Fulton County from 2020 outnumber the votes of margin of victory for Joe Biden. So that's what he was asking Mike Pence to do.
There you go.
Mike Pence should have did it.
The steal.
He refused, and so the rest followed.
So then to reiterate, he was telling Mike Pence to not certify the winner of the election who actually won the election because of his delusional belief that there was voter fraud, of which you're admitting wasn't discovered, I guess, until years later, although that's probably bullshit as well.
Pull it up, it's mainstream news.
It's not.
Can I ask for both?
Yes, literally multiple lawsuits.
All of them failed. Literally every lawsuit has been demolished in every state court. Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into the next one. All right, for both of you, what happens to the Republican Party if Trump wins this election? He can't rerun, so what happens after?
Well, obviously, J.D. Vance runs on the platform. That's what I would say. And if you look at everything that J.D. Vance came out, he is definitely ready, and he would be a great Republican president.
Who knows? Everybody around the world, everybody in the United States is looking at the Republican Party for nobody knows what it's going to look like after Trump. If he loses, they don't know if he's going to run again. If he wins, nobody knows if Trump will just be happy to win and be a lame duck, or he'll go full authoritarian monster mode and try to take as much government as he can, or what the Republican Party will look like afterwards, because the Republican Party has to fall in line to Trump, or he will destroy your career or destroy your media network, two things he's done before plenty of times. Who knows?
Just real quickly, Georgia voting fraud allegations result in criminal charges. Georgia Bureau of Investigations, arrest made in Brooks County voter fraud investigation. So I can go on and on. Here's the 19 people charged in Georgia election fraud case. So it's a real story. But I'm sorry, did you say if Trump wins or if Trump loses? If he wins. Well, I think what happens is probably the same whether he wins or loses. I think what Trump has done is he's basically remade the Republican Party, and so you kind of have the old neocon establishment type that you no longer see at Republican events anymore. George Bush is not a popular Republican. Dick Cheney is not a popular Republican. John McCain is not a
for
popular
Democrats,
Republican. Even Nikki Haley and Lindsey Graham get booed when they go to Trump rallies. So that's kind of the establishment right, if you will. The Republican voter base and really the populism that is behind the Republican Party has now, behind Donald Trump specifically, I think has now taken it over. So I don't think that's going to change. I think future candidates are going to sound more like Donald Trump. They're going to sound more like Vivek Ramaswamy. I think the message is going to be smaller government, true conservatism. I think the message is going to be stop funding foreign wars, foreign aid. I think the message is going to be bring back manufacturing, mostly common sense stuff. But
You know, the sad thing is, and I never thought I would find myself to be one of these, but more and more, I see myself become a protectionalist and an isolationist. I don't want my money to go to fund anybody else but the United States. I don't care about any other country. I don't care about the problems that goes on there. I don't care about any of that stuff. Could you imagine if all the money we spent around the world propping up dictators, propping up foreign governments, providing money for everybody else, we would have streets paved of gold in this country. And yet we're too busy buying people around the world that at the end of the day really hate us. So, anyways, need I digress.
But I think that the thrust behind this populist movement is that we understand there's government corruption, we understand that there's mainstream media corruption, and we want a representative as our president, as our representatives in Congress, who know that, who talk like us, who think like us, and aren't going to be afraid to say it out loud. So I think it's kind of a permanent reformation of the Republican Party post-Donald Trump, whether he wins or loses this election.
Well, my question is geared mostly towards Schroyer. You mentioned no foreign wars under Trump. In 2017, on Inauguration Day, I deployed and we dropped a record number of bombs in a single deployment on Syria until our record was beat by the Truman the year after that. What do you mean no foreign wars under Trump?
So are you referring to the airstrike on the airport strip?
Yeah.
Which one are you referring to?
The fight against ISIS during Operation Inherent Resolve.
Okay, so I would say that was a war that he inherited. I would say he didn't start that war. I think it was an inherited war. Now, you can argue whether you think we did good in that or bad in that. We could sit here and argue about the Biden pullout of Afghanistan. I think these were wars that Trump inherited. The decisions he made to try to end them, just like the decisions that Biden made to try to end them, you can debate. But he didn't start any new wars. So I think that's the distinction.
That's the big thing, is they like to argue semantics. Trump didn't start any new deployments or any new actions. A continuation, he's not arbitrarily going to pull out of all over the place. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to finish what we started. But the fact that he didn't start any new campaigns, he worked at ending continued campaigns, I think is the huge distinction between Donald Trump and other presidents. And I don't know why the Republican Party and Trump specifically has a hard time articulating that, and why Democrats or detractors have a hard time understanding that. There was no new war started. Were there continuations of it? That's like saying, oh, well, Donald Trump didn't, had soldiers in Afghanistan. Yeah, well, he inherited that. And he was starting that. By the time he left, we were drawing down. We were pulling out of there. He was ending that. But anyways.
Here. These were wars that were already ongoing for years and years. Past administrations, Obama, Bush, Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. So I wouldn't say that was a started war. These were wars that he inherited. But I think that the general perspective to understand is that you didn't have the massive conflict in Ukraine. You didn't have the massive conflict in the Middle East, which we hope doesn't engulf us now, but they are now sending troops to both of those regions, and so I'd like to see that. I don't think there's enough being done by Trump either to stop these wars, to be honest. I'd like to see all these foreign wars stopped. I want to decouple from Israel. I want to decouple from the Middle East. I want to decouple from all of these foreign wars. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't even care if it makes us isolationists. We don't need the rest of the world. We can build everything we need here. We have enough energy here. I would decouple from all these foreign countries, internalize everything, and get out of all these wars to begin with.
Yes.
Do we get to answer as well or no?
If you're able to keep the rebuttals as pithy
Sure,
as
quick
possible,
rebuttal.
because
The fact
otherwise,
that there were no wars going on is ridiculous. Crimea was still invaded and held by Russia. The civil war in the Donbass that was being supported by Russia was still going on. And in the Middle East, you had the
You didn't start new
occupation
wars.
of Crimea was 2014. Obama. Okay, was Trump not president when it was occupied? Exactly. And then the civil war in the Donbass, where Russia continued to escalate
started.
by sending in more troops and more forces. Did that happen under Trump?
So this is hilarious. They say
So it's a
Trump,
pivot,
Russia
pivot. And then also
collusion.
for the Middle
Can I
East.
answer? Are you
No,
going to
you
stutter
didn't
and
answer. You're
babble?
not going to. No,
He's
you're
gonna
not going to
babble
answer
again.
because
He's
you
going to
don't
start
have an answer to
babbling
the
like a
question.
baby.
That's why you're doing a ramble
they say
right now.
Trump,
There
Russia
it is.
collusion.
Russia collusion. Holy shit. We got our
When did
joggers
Russia-
on today.
he just admitted
when
it.
it came to the Middle
He
East,
just admitted it.
there was
When
also
did-
still conflict in the Middle East. You had Iran attacking Saudi Arabia for the first time ever. You had the entire border riots, Great March of Return, lasted for about a year in Israel. And you still had all the conflict in Syria. So the idea that there was no conflict in the Middle East is also
It's
delusional.
not what he said.
Okay, so again, the question was new wars. Russia invaded Ukraine when Obama was president. Russia invaded Ukraine again when Biden was president, not when Trump was president.
Nothing to say there.
I want to know you guys' opinion when Trump was president, when he tried to isolate America on a global scale from groups like NATO and try to go closer to countries like Russia or China.
Well, that's a load of crap. What Donald Trump did was told NATO and the UN that if you don't start to pay your 3 to 5% of GDP, like the United States is doing, we are not going to pay into it and we are not going to participate. You know, when the United States covers almost 80% of the budgets of all of these world organizations, and yet we're the scapegoat for everything that goes wrong, it's time that we revamp the way we think about these things. You know, I think the fact that Donald Trump said to the EU when he was president, hey, Germany, your GDP is X, and you're only paying 1% of that, yet your committed obligation is 4%, and you're not paying 4%, well, then we're not going to protect you, and we're not going to, if something happens, we're not going to participate. I see nothing wrong with that. Why is it up to us to pay for all this? If you want protection, you're going to pay. It's really that simple. It's no different than paying your police department to protect your community. You want the protection of the United States, then pay the money, or else don't ask us, and we won't participate. I love that idea, actually. Let that place burn, and I'll worry about myself.
Autarky is basically this idea that your country can be its own country and not rely on the rest of the world for anything is stupid.
It's not stupid.
It's subversive to the concept of America, the idea that we are a global trading partner, that we can ensure global peace and prosperity through ensuring trading lanes, ensuring these giant multilateral trade agreements so that we can have access to other people's
trade.
markets, so they can
Let's
have
not get
access to our
involved in
markets.
wars.
You saw what happened when the Houthis started shooting missiles at ships. What happened? The United States showed up and they said, hey, no more of that, and they shut it down. And trade
Still
through the Suez
happening.
Canal continued. We
You're
wouldn't be
full
able
of
to do that
shit.
in an America supported by Trump or Trumples because they believe, somewhat naively, that we can just withdraw entirely from all of the global world markets and still be as good as we are now, that we wouldn't be able to rely on any of the manufacturing from any other country. We wouldn't have access to any of those markets in the way that we do now. Like, why would we want to take our country back
Because
so
it's not
far?
static.
You know,
See, the problem is all these people want to argue in a linear way of thinking. There's an ebb and flow to it. Just like when Trump says, I'm going to put 400% tariffs. He's not going to go and blanket 400% tariffs. Just the fact that that any president, for that matter, would use that as a stick would bring China to the table to renegotiate, to reduce our goods that are being tariffed. So here's an example. Back during George W. Bush's term, at one point, gasoline hit $5 a gallon, or $4 a gallon, I think it was. Huge war with OPEC. I believe it was at some point we're almost $300 a barrel for oil. And Bush came out and said, okay, we are going to, he executive ordered the lift on the moratorium on of drilling off the continental shelf. So what happens is that once you get past a certain amount of miles off the coast, it's called the continental shelf, and there's oil down there. So you have to do horizontal drilling, and you can tap into the oil reserves under the ocean. He said, I'm going to lift the moratorium because we didn't allow it. Well, within a week, oil prices per barrel plummeted. Because what happened? Free market stepped in. The Arabs said, or OPEC, I should say, said, well, we don't want the United States to start drilling for oil, because if they start drilling for oil, then we're going to lose our money. So what happens? They ramped up production. The cost of barrel per barrel went down. Gas went back down as well because of supply and demand. And then we stopped worrying about drilling off the continental shelf. So that's how things work. But these people want to argue, and they have no basis. It's like, well, it's a box. Well, nothing's a box. It's open space that you can discuss. And when it comes to trade, you use a stick and a carrot. Well, I'm going to use this stick to make a threat, but then I'll give you this carrot if you change your mind. And that's what happens. So when, China dumps steel on the open market that forces American manufacturers to close their doors because they can no longer compete, you put tariffs. I'm going to put tariffs on, and you pick any item. It's not a universal 400% tariff. You pick certain things that come in. Well, China, whose economy is very fragile as it is not going to want any tariffs. So they're going to say, oh, okay. Well, we'll stop dumping our steel if you promise not to put a 400% tariff. What happens? Steel dumping stops, and U.S. manufacturing can now compete again. That's how it works. And yet these academias who think they know everything understand nothing. I'm telling you.
Who tried stepping away from giant unified markets was the United Kingdom via Brexit. Their economy is not doing very good right now. So I don't know why that would be the model that you would try to emulate. Because
Brexit, a.k.a. the UK, is the size of Illinois. Come on. It's Illinois. They're limited in resources, limited in population, limited in money. We're not UK. We're the United States with a huge... 4 of our biggest states are in the top 10 world economies. Some of our states have bigger economies than some of the countries, and most of the countries in the world. This idea that these people don't think like that, I don't know. I get myself so frustrated.
For a country who has built so much success off of so much cooperation with the rest of the world.
The concept for America is actually independence.
Yes.
Okay? It's independence. So yes, we can be independents. And I think we learned a lot from this recent port strike where they just ended it a couple weeks ago. We learned that most of these ports are actually owned by foreign companies. That's a problem. We should own all of our ports. We should make money off of all of our ports, and maybe we wouldn't have this issue. But I think...
I hate to keep interrupting, but I have so much to say because this brings up a lot of stuff. When National Grid, the infrastructure that we use to heat our homes and power and light up our municipalities and our cities, is owned by a British corporation, I think that's a problem. When Hannaford, Food Lion, Food Circus is owned by a Dutch conglomerate I think that's a big problem. I think when some of our biggest buildings and iconic buildings like Rockefeller Center is owned by foreign entities, I think that's a problem. I think when a lot of our, Freihofer's is owned by Bimbo Bakery, which is a South American bakery conglomerate, I think that's a huge issue. When Smithfield Pork is owned by the Chinese, I think that's a big problem. We need to stop selling out American products, manufacturing, industry, infrastructure. That needs to stop. There should be a law placed that no foreign government or entity should own more than 49% of anything that is U.S. Almost every other country does it, folks, except the dumbass Americans. And idiots like Destiny think that's great. I don't know. Why is it bad to think that American companies should remain American companies? I don't understand why that's bad.
I think that there's a general attitude here. See, I think conservatives versus liberals, if you hear what he just said, conservatives believe we can. We believe in the American people. We believe in American companies. We believe we can manufacture and produce goods just like we've done for years. We used to have manufacturing plants in all the inner cities, and a man could get a job and make a living wage for his family and buy a home. They've all shipped those overseas. We can bring those back. We have plenty of energy here in the United States. We have innovations in energy. We can go nuclear here. We don't need the world. It's true. But that's the leftist liberal attitude is, oh, we need everybody. You need everybody. You need government. You can't make it on your own. You can make it on your own. America can make it on its own.
Idiot.
Hey, Destiny, I love the all green. Owen, maybe we size up on the jacket next time. But my question has to go
Again.
to. I'm getting there. Thank you. Destiny, you claimed that there was no money being given to foreign illegals for housing. They weren't buying houses. You're correct on that. But Christopher Rufo did a story. $3.8 billion from the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, was given to the state of Colorado, who in turn gave it to Boulder, Denver.
With an intern.
They gave $5 million to resettle migrants. $350,000 of that a week was going out to migrants to pay for them in one apartment building. This was the CBZ, owned by CBZ Management in Aurora. Aurora, right? So this was the same building that was taken over by illegal gangs. I'm wondering how you can sit there and say that there's no American taxpayer money going to these people when they're there doing it and taking over our country, literally.
Okay, so I mean, there's a multitude of problems with the question, but I'll address the question.
Of course.
I mean, if money is given to Colorado and Colorado spends that money on illegal immigrants if they choose to do so, I mean, that would be an issue that you have then with Colorado, not necessarily the federal government. But also, you also said that they were spending the money resettling migrants. That doesn't sound like money spent on illegals. It sounds like money spent resettling migrants, which is not illegals. But if I take the strongest version of your question, I mean, it's pretty undeniable. I'm sure the United States in some capacity spends money on illegal immigrants. I know that we provide housing, we provide, I'm pretty sure, food stipends. I know there's like some card that these guys obsess over that asylum seekers get when they come in here. They're waiting for their court cases. Waiting time that would have been dramatically reduced,
me
by the way, if they
imitating
would have passed
Destiny.
the legislation in Congress that they shut down because Donald Trump wanted to keep the border open for the election. I'm sure the United States spends money on illegal immigrants. I'm not saying they don't.
Slow down, dude. Take some Valium.
It's just the illegal immigrants that we talk about are like fucking Captain America. Like, these guys come in and they have like 50 kids, and then they steal all of our welfare, and then they are buying all of our fucking houses, and then they're also working all of our fucking jobs, and they're like, I don't know how they can do fucking everything. I don't know if they maybe the reason why Biden did so poorly in the debate is because all the adrenochrome was going to the crazy, legendary fucking illegal immigrants or whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we spend money on illegals. I wish we had comprehensive immigration reform. I do think that spending money on America is important, and I think that's a good argument. I think that when you look and you see, okay, well, even if it wasn't $200 billion, Destiny, it was $20 billion. Why are we spending $20 billion in Ukraine when my neighborhood is fucking falling apart? Or,
Exactly.
my city doesn't have the money to pay for these things that I think are important. I think these are good questions, okay? Democrats are not the ones that are trying to cut funding from schools and from cities and from infrastructure and from healthcare. When the fuck was the last time you heard a Republican say, we need to stop funding the war in Ukraine so that we can fund
Donald Trump.
healthcare. We need to stop giving money to Israel so that we can do something about the homeless or the drug addicted or the mental illness in society. It's never like that. It's we need to stop funding here, and then we need to cut as much spending domestically as possible. So that
let
what,
the states
fucking
worry
free
about
market's
it.
going to take care of your problems? What, is Bezos going to walk you to the fucking ER and pay for your medical bill? Like, it's just insane. So
No,
I
he
agree. I can
want
understand
somebody
that
else
we
to
can
do
walk
that.
and chew gum at the same time. The United States is a huge federal budget. We can pay for a lot of things, and I do think that sometimes our spending is a bit sad. But when you look at who's taking money away from spending on things like healthcare or childcare or any of the multitude of things that we need money spent on in this country, it's not Democrats, it's fucking Republicans. And the idea that cutting funding to some foreign war would all of a sudden open their hearts to domestic spending on welfare is ludicrous.
Actually, I'm a Republican, and I literally just said we should take money from foreign wars and spend it on America. So I literally just said that.
So you'd be for a
And I
public
also
option
think
over
it's
single-payer
funny-
healthcare?
No, I didn't say
No,
that either.
nobody said that.
Yeah.
You want that,
But
idiot.
if you have more money in Americans' pockets, they can afford their own health care. See, if you
Exactly.
get the government out of the transaction, then Americans have more money.
How does money going to Ukraine come back to American pockets if we cut the funding there?
Because it lowers
So if
taxes,
the government
dummy.
has $1 million and they spend $500,000.
This is the problem. These fucktards know nothing. If the government takes less of your money, means you have more money in your pocket, which means you can afford more. It's not a government expense, it's a government spending problem that we have. There are plenty of taxes going to the Treasury. If the government spends too much of it.
On a foreign country, how much money do they have left?
Well, the government, they run deficits. You should know Donald Trump had the
So
biggest deficits of all time. So
the answer is $500,000 versus what could have been $1 million. It's basic math. But it's funny, he now admits that we do pay for illegal
I'm sorry,
immigrants.
you said earlier
So
that the
thank you
rich
for that.
people are the ones who paid most of the taxes. So if
Which
the
they
government
do.
stops spending, then
Which
the
they
rich
do.
people are the ones keeping the money. Are they just going to give it to the poor people?
Which they do. The rich people do pay the most of the taxes. So thank you for at least bringing a small fact check here, because that's what now he has to admit that, yes, we do pay for illegal immigrants. And we shouldn't pay for any. We shouldn't pay for a single illegal immigrant. And they love to play this game with, oh, they're migrants or, oh, they're asylum seekers. They rewrite laws, they rephrase things so they can get away with these excuses, and then use their buzzwords like immigration reform. We don't need immigration reform.
Enforce
we need to
enforce the laws on the books. How's that?
follow the immigration law. We have immigration laws in this country. There is a waiting process. There's a process you go through to become a citizen. That's what every person should come into America and go through, versus some select, maybe some circumstances where you come in here on a work visa when you already have a job lined up or you have a job that we need. So they love to play these games. And by the way, yes, Colorado did have to request money from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. That was literally a request.
But remember, so Destiny likes to, oh, well, Colorado can spend the money the way they want, but the federal government created this problem. They're the ones who shuffled people into all these municipalities. It wasn't Colorado. It's not Colorado that opened its doors and said, oh, come on in. And all of a sudden, oh, I can't afford to do this. Go panhandling at the government for some money. No, the government said, hey, take all these people. Now you figure it out. And Colorado said, hey, I need money here. You guys really screwed me. Yet Destiny can't seem to figure that one out.
They had to get the money from the federal government to pay for these illegal immigrants that are all over all of these blue cities. And by the way, you notice another thing too. The Democrats are always complaining about the state of the education in this country, and rightfully so. It's in the tubes. Who runs the education department?
The federal government.
The Democrats.
And the federal government.
Yeah. Hey, Destiny. I wanted to talk about there's sort of this growing rise in like social conservatism among Generation Z youths. And I sort of wonder as a 22-year-old where I see a future in the Democratic Party for me as someone who kind of leans left economically, more probably left-wing economically, not leans left, but someone who's sort of like center-right socially. And I just don't really see a future right now. And so I'm kind of wondering, should the Democratic Party try and appeal to this growing rise in Gen Z voters? This is according to a Gallup poll and a Pew Research poll done in the last year. Should it try to appeal, or should it just kind of leave us in the dust? Because the Republican Party, I don't see a future where they start caring about Americans and funding single-payer health care and funding housing, unfortunately. But at the same time,
they want you to do it
I'm a bit
yourself.
unsatisfied with the Democratic Party's social turn.
With more money in your pocket.
And so, yeah.
I think that the goal should be to tell all of your friends to vote for Kamala Harris so that the Democrats can win with the largest margin possible so that we can load all of the insane fucking college tankies and progressives up into a fucking Elon Musk spaceship and send them off to the fucking moon.
Look at that. Look at this idiot.
I mean, this is an issue that I talk about a lot. The far left of the party is fucking crazy, okay? That's like, nobody can deny that. I fought with the far left, honestly, probably more than Owen has. When it comes to insane people, there's a reason why I'm banned from Twitch, and it's not conservative. It's because of crazy people on the far left. That being
because conservatives wouldn't ban you. They just think you're a loon, but let you say what you want. Only liberals and Democrats want to censor somebody. Just so you know that. Destiny. Ugh.
And I think it's good to keep in mind is the far left is politically non-existent. There are no far left lawmakers. Even people like AOC and Bernie Sanders now are called Israeli genocide supporters by the far left. All of the college kids have now abandoned, Elon and Rashid, like all of the Justice Dems and Bernie are all completely, off the table now. They're not radical enough for them. So I think that trying to win with the largest margin possible, so that on social media we can continue to ignore these people because that's the only place they exist, is important. But the radical element of the Republican Party is like 95% of the party.
Oh my God.
Like the last YouGov poll I saw, I think said that 25% of conservatives, probably Owen included, believe in satanic sex cults, okay, that like Hillary Clinton and Podesta belong to, okay, where they perform blood sacrifice rituals on
Epstein's
children,
Island,
right?
sure.
And 80% of conservatives, Owen definitely included, don't believe in the results of the last election. This is like the big majority bulk of the party, and that is very scary, and it is a huge problem. So I agree, far left is super fucking cringe. I hope that Kamala wins with enough of a margin that we can safely eject these people and never listen to them again. They can all go vote for Jill Stein.
I'd like to address you for a second, too, if you wouldn't mind. So I think what is important for young people, you can stand, you can sit, it doesn't matter. I think what's important for young people to understand is the broad difference between what the right wants to do politically and what the left wants to do politically. You're going to have issues you agree with some leftists on, some conservatives on, and that'll probably go on the rest of your life. You're more of a centrist. But I think you need to understand what the core is of the modern day left, and this rings throughout history. The American left, the Democrat Party, cannot exist without power. They need power. They want to tell you what kind of car you can drive. They need power to do that. They want to tell you what kind of. Okay. So then you might like that. But I just think you just need to understand. It's important to understand the core values. That yes, if you want to tell people what kind of car they can drive, what kind of food they can eat, and all that stuff, well, you need power. You need political power to do that. And so that's where the left goes, where the right wing believes more in self-government. We want you to decide. So yeah, you might have to say, well, I guess if I believe an electronic car is better for the environment than a combustion engine, then I'm going to drive an electric-powered car, but maybe my neighbor I think is a worse person because he doesn't drive one. That's the difference between self-government and the government deciding what you need to do. So they need power.
Why is it so bad that I decide what I want to do? This is exactly what he said. Why is it bad that I decide what I want to drive? I decide what I want to eat. I decide what kind of house I want. Why is it my decision has to be omitted by the Democratic Party? They want to make that decision for me. I don't understand that. I really don't.
Power to do it where the right wing believes in self-government. So I just think it's important to understand kind of the core principles. I want to address something you just said, satanic cults. Again,
oh no.
Are you going to deny that there was an Epstein Island? Are you going to deny these Diddy parties where they're having all these things?
Wait a second. How many photos was Kamala Harris in with Epstein?
No.
How many photos was Donald Trump in with Epstein?
Did you read?
See the silence?
Did
Crazy,
you read?
Isn't it?
There's no silence. You just won't shut up.
Yeah.
Did you read the WikiLeaks emails in 2016? Did you hear about Abramovich? Did you hear about the spirit cookings? Did you hear about the children in the hot tub for your entertainment? Did you read these emails? This is all public information. Anybody in this room can go look at the WikiLeaks emails. The Democrat committee emails invite Marina Abramovich to spirit cookings, and they have children in the hot tub for your entertainment. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, go home, look it up. It's all public record. It's all real.
Wait, all of
so
that is
you
public
can
record?
laugh it
All
up.
of that is real? All of that is super true?
Yes.
Why didn't Donald Trump do anything about it?
I wish he would have.
So then why would you elect him again? He failed.
Because I vote
He fired Comey, he put it...
Wait a minute. Why is it whenever something like that comes up, well, Biden's been the president. Why didn't he do something? Kamala Harris, she was a senator. Why didn't she bring it up and say something? Kamala Harris was the VP. She still is. Why didn't she do something about it? Because they don't want to. And Trump was under the gun non-freaking stop. Holy shit, this guy's an idiot.
And I know that this country will be better. See, you exist in a cult. I don't. I'm a pragmatic
The guy that you're
voter.
advocating for is a fucking loser. He failed on everything you want. At least I can point to Biden and go, look at the CHIPS Act. Whereas Donald Trump said, we're going to tear up China and bring back manufacturing. Nothing happened. At least Biden got a bill passed and did something. Whereas Donald Trump said, we're going to do more for infrastructure than we ever have. He did fuck all. At least Biden passed the infrastructure bill, right? When Donald Trump talks,
That's going
he
so
fails.
well.
What's going so well?
hey.
The infrastructure bill? Yes, it is.
So
There's
through all
been
the
a ton of
battling,
money, more than ever
just
before,
if you-
allocated to
I
domestic
understand. It
construction
sounds
projects.
crazy, brother. Believe me. It's a great shirt. I'm sure he made some nice money off that shirt because he's a capitalist like everybody else. I'm just telling you, I would probably have thought I was crazy when I was your age too. But when you dig into this stuff and you realize your government is extremely corrupt, your mainstream media is extremely corrupt, most of the celebrities that we look up to are extremely corrupt, these are the ones that are telling you how to think. And so, yeah, I don't like that. I don't think you should like that. And you would be stunned if you saw what was in those Democrat emails that he's pretending is not true. So you don't have to call it a satanic cult, but you can go look. Marina Abramovich, Spirit Cookings, Democrat Party emails. You can make up your own mind after you read them.
Why was Trump in a picture with Epstein? Why was he on the flight logs?
Who cooperated with the FBI when Epstein was trying to bring girls into his trafficking ring at Trump's clubs? Donald Trump.
Trump's clubs?
Yeah, Donald Trump. Epstein was at Trump's clubs trying
Well, we
to
know
recruit
he's got
young girls.
security cameras in there because we saw all the documents from the Mar-a-Lago thing. So what, was Donald Trump just sitting there jerking off to it the whole time? Or?
No, he was cooperating with the FBI. He literally cooperated with the FBI. And when did Epstein get arrested?
Cooperated with the FBI, and
When
then
did
when he was president, he
Epstein
didn't
get
use the
arrested?
FBI
Epstein
to
got
go after?
arrested. So now the Epstein thing is real. So see, now the Epstein thing is real. Now he has to accept
Wait,
that
what
it's
is the
real, and
Epstein
now
thing?
he's talking
What is
about
the
it.
Epstein
Bill
thing?
Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane
So did Donald
dozens
Trump,
of
more than
times.
Bill Clinton.
Donald Trump did not.
Did
Donald
not.
Trump helped bring Jeffrey Epstein to jail and prison. He's the only president that did so. Donald Trump cooperated with the FBI when they were investigating Epstein recruiting young girls. And notice all the people that were friends with Epstein, all the people that went to Epstein Island, all hate Donald Trump.
I think everybody hates Donald Trump. I mean, that's
And
not really a
even
fair
Elon Musk.
metric. I mean, like, even his
Yeah,
last vice
everyone
president hates him.
Donald
I mean, you
Everyone
know.
hates Donald Trump, but there were millions of people at the insurrection. Everybody hates Donald Trump, but he's the most popular person in the world. Yeah, everybody hates Donald Trump. Clearly, you didn't walk around campus today because a lot of people actually love Donald Trump.
Yeah, because
And
they
by
got
the
people
way,
like you
why did
brainwashing them.
Elon
Everybody
Musk-
that's worked with Donald Trump hates Donald Trump.
I'm sure
Everybody that spent time in office with Donald Trump. There's a reason why 42 of his 44 last
You love
cabinet
the
members
government.
won't
This guy
endorse
loves
him.
the government.
The government is part of the thing that keep. What do you think?
That's the thing, guys. Listen, I own a business. You guys all know this. When somebody doesn't do a good job, you fire them. And you know what happens? They don't like you when you do that. When you fire somebody, they don't like you anymore. That's pretty normal. I mean, I've been fired once in my life, and I didn't like my boss after he fired me. It happens. So, not surprised that people like Millie and Mad Dog and Barr and whoever else he fired, they don't like him because they got fired for not doing a good job. I think Bill Barr resigned, but still. Point is, his biggest detractors were the ones that he fired, and that's pretty normal. And face it, the Cheneys don't like Donald Trump because Trump is anti-war, and the Cheneys are heavily involved in the corporate war machine. So come on.
America is. Do you think it's just a piece of land? What is the United States? Self-governance. But now when it comes to abortion, self-governance when it comes to what kids...
This is the problem with Democrats, and I've had this discussion all the time. They fight here, you lose them, you make them lose in the argument, then they move the bar, then you make them lose that argument, they move the bar. Now, so he proved them that Trump was a successful president, so he moved the bar, calling him a crackpot with Epstein. He showed Epstein that Epstein under Trump was jailed and that he's bringing in all the Democrats was because of Trump. Oh, now it's, so everybody hates him that worked for him. So he defended that and showed it how right he was. Now it's, what about the abortion? They always move the bar because they have nothing.
Kids read in school libraries. When does the self-governance stop and the Christian virtue signaling begin? By the way, Christian virtue signaling following a man who doesn't even read the Bible, who can't even say John 3:16 when asked for his favorite Bible verse.
Well, you're just a hypocrite just by the way you talk, the fact that you want to spouse out Bible verses. You're the most freaking most hypocrite person I know. Look at your lifestyle. Holy shit.
Guy who cheats openly on all three of his wives and then steals campaign
still
funds.
love him.
And steal campaign. Yeah, I know you love him because there's nothing he could do that would make you not love him.
His ex-wives still love him.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. That's why they divorced him.
So, man, that is just, it's hard to concentrate with so much yapping in my ear.
Don't worry, it's how we all feel watching InfoWars. Or
they
used
all watch
to.
InfoWars! They all watch InfoWars. I love it. So there you go. So Epstein is real. So first it's, a fictitious satanic cult. But now it's real. Now he admits it's real. So it's amazing. See, when things progress in the
Epstein was a fictitious
conversation,
character before,
eventually
yeah.
everything he has to admit, everything I say, he eventually has to admit.
Boy, geez, I think I could be Owen. I think every argument he makes, I'm making ahead of him. God, I should host my own podcast, I think. Yeah, I think I should host my own podcast. Wait a minute, I am. See what I did there? Pretty funny, right?
Is real.
I cracked myself up. God, he's got a
Hi,
face
I
I'd
don't
love
know if
to
this is
punch.
a great segue or if my question won't matter anymore, but this is for Mr. Schroyer. What is one,
Schroyer the
other than the
Destroyer.
Sandy Hook crisis actor thing, what is one conspiracy theory on the right that you think is not true?
A conspiracy theory on the right that I think is not true. Oh, boy. Could you imagine thinking of that off the cuff like that without being able to hit the pause button? I got nothing. I think they're all true. Let's see what he says here.
I mean, I don't think they used weather weapons to steer this last hurricane. That's a recent one. Past that, I mean, you'd have to be more specific. I mean, there's a lot of things. Basically, I would say if I don't report on it, I don't believe it's true. There's a lot of rumors out there about Tim Walz that I think are fake. So most of the Tim Walz stuff I think is fake. I don't believe it. So there's just a couple of recent examples.
Good answer. Good answer.
Hey, how are you doing? My question is, if during the 2020 election, if the quote-unquote government could have stolen the election, why didn't they do that in 2016? I think that if you're going to be a conspiracy theorist, you should apply your conspiracy theories consistently.
Because again, life isn't static. Technology moved further from 2016 to 2020. There was a huge leap in technology where they started using electronic voting machines, which had the ability to be manipulated and hacked. They didn't have that in 2016. They had that in 2020. That's what I think. We'll see what they say.
I think that's a great question. I think that's a fair question. And I think Hillary Clinton is still pissed off that they didn't steal it for her. But there's an actual practical answer. As I said, they changed the laws because of COVID, and they allowed all of these mail-in ballots. Millions of mail-in ballots around the country. Some of them were going to casinos, gas stations, empty parking lots. You didn't have that in 2016. You didn't have videos like in Philadelphia or in Atlanta where they shut down the polling locations and then people stay and triple count ballots. So we know what was different between 2020 and 2016. It's a fair question, but those are your differences. They were different. They were different ways they were counting ballots. There were different ways to vote, and that's what ultimately changed the results. But if you go back and you look at the graphs, this is going to be the thing that should blow anybody's mind. If you're a fair observer, go back and look at the graphs. In Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Trump was winning all day long until 3:30 in the morning, and the vote for Biden goes straight up. Right at the buzzer, straight up, and then they declare the states for Biden. Anybody would have to be honest with themselves and say that there's something wrong there.
In Fulton County, the people accused of running the ballots over and over again were Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Will you own that opinion right here and say that they were triple counting ballots?
No, they were actually not charged.
They were what?
They were not charged.
So it wasn't them, it was somebody else?
Yes.
Okay, so the reason why he's very careful of that is because he's been through defamation lawsuits now, and he knows
because
that
I know the facts.
He knows that
Because I know
the
the
original
facts.
claim that multiple ballots were counted, or that the same ballots were counted multiple times in Fulton County originated. It was fabricated, whole cloth, from Powell and Giuliani about Fulton County from those State Farm Arena videos. Not only did Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss sue Giuliani over that, Giuliani...
You know, I have to say, I got to give Destiny credit. And to an extent, Schroyer as well. because I don't know that I can. I know I cannot remember people's names like that. That is one thing that I wish God would come down and say, boom, Jason, you'll remember people's names. The fact that he can quote those names, I think, is pretty cool. Whew. I can't believe I said that out loud.
He came out and said, yeah, I lied, but it was my First Amendment right to lie. And believe it or not, that doesn't actually work for a defensive defamation suit. That's why he lost that case for $148 million, and like his business leader, Donald Trump, is now declaring bankruptcy.
Probably only have time for one or two more questions.
Awesome. Hey, Destiny, MAGA Republican. You talked last debate with Doyle about the dinosaur stuff, and then this debate with the dinosaur stuff as well. I don't know what's going on with the dinosaurs. I believe they exist. What's up with that? Do they not, or what's going on?
A couple years ago, I was kind of depressed. I realized that, like, in the era that we live in right now, in the whole Donald Trump MAGA stuff, nothing personally to you, but it feels like nothing can ever happen again that isn't a conspiracy. And now every single thing that these people talk about is a conspiracy. The 2020 election was stolen. COVID was fake, but it was also a manufactured bioweapon. The vaccine, even though it was warp-sped by Donald Trump, was evil because it was something to do with billionaires and Jews, even though Israel is the country that had the uptake of the mRNA vaccine more than any other country. The mRNA vaccine was bad because it was
this is a waste of time, man. Answer his question.
Emergency use authorization, even though the monoclonal antibodies were great, even though it was the same thing. The issue is that every single one of these MAGA people, I'm answering his question, every single one of these MAGA people,
about dinosaurs.
Yeah, because you guys all believe in insane, unhinged, crazy shit, and then you try to run away from it when you're on stage because you're too cowardly to own your fucking opinion, right? You won't own any of it. That's why you're up here and you're like, oh, well, maybe they don't have things to change the hurricane, blah, blah, blah.
Earlier you said,
earlier
you
you
said,
said,
the question so we can get to another question,
yeah, because
please?
I think it's worth it for the audience to see, like when media entities that,
filibustering.
by the way, are
You are
wholly aligned with you,
filibustering.
are fully funded by Russia, like Tenet Media, by the way. I think it's good to be able to show people. I think it's good to be able to show people what's happening.
My bank records have been combed through, as he's mentioned, the lawsuits against me, the government's against me. So yeah, if there was anything sketchy there, they would have already found it. So
I'm just saying it's interesting that these people all
dinosaurs?
align wholesale with you in opinion. Yeah, I just think it's funny that conservatives don't believe in dinosaurs. They think that oil is a self-replenishing thing. They think that we couldn't have gone to the moon. They simultaneously don't believe that we went to the moon, but they do believe in Elon's rockets. They talk about George Soros and billionaire conspiracies, even though Elon Musk wants to put a fucking microchip in your brain, and he owns companies that are digging fucking tunnels beneath Las Vegas. Like, it's just insanely hypocritical. They believe in every single conspiracy theory. The wildfires in Hawaii were caused by Jewish space lasers. They think that every fucking war in the Middle East is some, like, I already answered the dinosaur. You guys don't believe the dinosaurs are fucking real. It's a debate. We're allowed to fucking talk.
So here's what he's doing. Modern-day Trump-supporting conservatism is a big tent.
That's what I want to point out.
Name calling. It's all he's got.
There's probably crazy people that believe this stuff.
Not
just
big
like
enough for the
there's crazy
dinosaurs,
people
though.
that believe crazy things about the right. These people all believe Trump-Russian collusion, which was fake. These people all believe that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake. It was real.
Wait, Trump-Russia collusion, that was fake?
Mainstream leftism. I don't know what he's talking about with Democrats and dinosaurs or Republicans and dinosaurs. I don't know anything about that. That's not conservatism. That's some fringe people that happen to vote Trump because they still, even though they don't believe in dinosaurs, are smarter than him.
Was Roger Stone working with Donald Trump's campaign? Wow, the silence. There it is. Yeah, because he knows where this line of questioning goes.
Yes.
It wasn't.
Wow,
Trump-Russia
Roger
collusion
Stone
was not
working with
fake. There
Trump.
was
Breaking
collusion
news.
between
Can we
Trump's
get another
campaign
question?
and between Russia. It happened. Where do you think the DNC leaks that he's so excitedly talking about came from?
God, he's
It came
an
from Russian
idiot.
hackers, and
He
Roger
is
Stone was
horrible.
talking to all of those people.
He
It's
is.
laid
Hey,
out all in court indictments.
Hey, so for you, big guy, a couple points and then a question for you, and maybe we close this out. You brought up marginal utility of dollars as related to Owen's flat tax proposal. That cuts both ways. There's also a marginal utility of services. You say that Democrats aren't for voter fraud, yet they're suing the state of Virginia for removing illegal aliens from their voter
Oh, this
rolls.
guy's smart.
You say that the evidence of the
Look at him.
January
He's
6th insurrection is that people wouldn't go through the magnetometer and there must have been all these guns there. But if you actually watch the videos that you claimed, you would see hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people there that couldn't possibly fit on the ellipse, which is the size of this freaking room. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want...
Why? They allow him to ramble on forever, Destiny, that is, and yet the person asking the question repudiates him on every single point he's made through his blithering butthole of a face. Yeah, I just acted like he did. And yet they are, come on, just ask him the question.
want to make fun of Owen for big tech removing his First Amendment rights, and everyone around here wants to clap for him being imprisoned for being a First Amendment journalist. What's it like to be so intellectually dishonest?
Ha! Ha! Ha!
It sounded like the last question for Owen, but I'll answer it anyway. You're not allowed to break into the Capitol and try to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
But you're allowed to burn a police department in the name of Black Lives Matter. Got it. Got it. Okay. I understand that now. Or burn a city because you think it's racist. Okay. I got it.
Who was the first person into the Capitol building? That's because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So why the fuck are you asking me a question like you do?
See, look at these guys. This is what Democrats do.
The building were the Proud Boys. You can watch it. It's all on tape.
And you know what? You have fringe on both sides. You have fringe on both sides of a political party. It is what it is. You're going to have them on both sides.
You motherfucking retards videotape the entire thing.
Oh, look
it's
at
4K,
look at this guy.
60 frames per second. Live streamed on YouTube. They were covering it on InfoWars saying patriots are coming in. How did they do it? They stole a riot shield and they bashed in the window. You can watch it on video. Really? Who do you want? How much do you want to bet? You want to bet $5,000 right now? The first guy into the Capitol was let in by a police officer. You want to bet $5,000 on that right now? That the first person in wasn't charged with a crime, isn't on video bashing the window in with a riot shield that he stole from a cop? Exactly. That's why, because you don't have any money left to lose. Okay? No, it's bullshit. The first people that breached the Capitol grounds were the Proud Boys. It's all on video. The first people into the Capitol building were the Proud Boys. It's all on video.
My politics
it's
have cost me
anti-American and
everything.
treasonous. You hate this country.
My politics have cost me everything, and I'm still up here fighting the good fight because I actually love this country, unlike this guy who's lost nothing. He's lost nothing except his integrity. That's all he's left is his integrity. And I'd like to, I don't know if you want to do more questions or if you want to do final comments. But everybody, again, he sits here, we could fact check this guy all day long. The doors have magnetometers that have to be released by the Capitol Police. You can sit there and watch them release the doors, and then the cops open them and usher them through. He keeps saying it's on video, it's on video. Yes, you're right. That's literally on video. I've been in the courtrooms. I've shown it on video. You haven't because you're a good government stooge, and you'll probably be protected by the corrupt Justice Department.
None of that is true. Go look it up.
Yeah,
look up first breach into the Capitol. Go look it up. Go see who got indicted for it. Go see who got convicted for it. It wasn't police officers letting people into the building.
We have one more question.
This is for Schroyer. You mentioned that the immigration laws were changed under Biden to make it easier to seek asylum, and then you mentioned something about the CBP One app. As far as I'm aware, that app didn't change any immigration laws, but it made it so that appointments must be made for the app rather than further congesting the border, making it harder for the border workers to do their job. In fact, they're being sued by Amnesty International for allegedly making it harder for people to seek asylum. So my question is, what laws do you believe were changed, and what do you believe the app is doing to make it easier?
So I think what the app did is made it super easy to claim asylum. It's not that the people come here illegally or try to come to the border. The point is the asylum part of it, because that gives you almost 5 years of being here without doing it, without having any retro processing, because there's so much backlog, millions and millions and millions of cases. So, and the thing is, and what people don't understand, because they don't choose to, and I'm sorry guys, but you guys don't choose to do your homework. There's a difference between an illegal immigrant and an asylum seeker. An asylum seeker, once given that destination by the government, the designation by the government, now has access to all of our benefits. Social Security, medical, Medicare, welfare, housing, and that's where the problem lies. Because once you have all that, it's an easy transition to make you a voter. And we're seeing that in states, especially New York City right now. So let's see if he says the same thing.
So there's basically no screening when it comes to the asylum process now. Anybody can come in and apply to be an asylum seeker.
Shit.
They can get on this app, file the asylum seeking process. There's no They don't check your ID. They don't do a background check. You just fill out the form, and you're in as an asylum seeker. And then you can fly into the country. You can get a flight as well. But
you need a real ID to fly to prove that you're an American citizen. But you can have an asylum app generated number, and you can jump on the plane anytime you want. If you have a DWI or are have a federal offense, criminal federal offense, you can't fly as an American. But somebody who came across the border illegally and filed for asylum, you can jump on a plane all you want. The government right now does not care about its people.
I understand. Okay, let's say I can't convince you of that. Okay, let's get the political wonk out of the way, and let's just talk realistically here. 3 straight years, record number of border crossers. I won't even put a term on them. I won't say illegal. I won't say asylum. I won't say anything. 3 straight years of record number border crossings. That's just a fact. And most of these people come here, if not all, well, probably not all, because a lot of them just escape into the country. Most of these people come here and they get free stuff immediately. You're paying for it. You're paying for their travel. I just told you, they changed the policy. They're not stopping people. Anybody can get in. Anybody can get in. No, it wasn't always the case. You used to have to seek asylum in the country next to you, or you used to have to go through a background check before you could even get into the court systems and come in.
Listen, the fact that people have to argue this kills me. The federal government went after the state of Texas and forced them to take down razor wire to prevent illegals from crossing the Rio Grande. Why is this so hard for people to see that the federal government is enabling this behavior? It's a fact. It's black and white. I mean, should we hold banners up in the air for you to see what's happening? Open your eyes. I understand we have compassion. I understand we want to help. We're Americans. That's what we do. But there is a black and white issue here. We don't know who these people are. You know, it's one thing to come in, be vetted, or find out what your real name. I mean, Fox did an expose where they walked along the border wall. On the Mexican side are thousands of wallets and documentation and people's names and paperwork that has their names and driver's licenses and everything else, because they're told by the cartels, by the mules, everything else, do not go into the United States with any documentation. Why is that? So that we don't know who they are. It's not rocket science. If you need an ID to go get a library book at the library down the road, you should have an ID so we know who you are. If you're a good person or a bad person, or what you've done. Why is this student arguing this? Oh, well, who did it? It doesn't matter who did it. Biden did do it. It was a Biden-Harris policy that changed all those rules. But who cares? The point is, it's not right.
Into this country, they would hold you into a detention center or a prison before you could come into this country. Now they just let you in. That's the big difference. Joe Biden, the Biden-Harris administration. That's why
they repealed 93 executive orders that Donald Trump put in for border policies and whatnot. So the fact that they repealed the policies, perfect example, the stay in place in Mexico for asylum seekers. So you have to stay in Mexico until your asylum trial comes about. That was executive order by Trump, and that was repealed by Joe Biden. So there's a perfect one right there.
Immigration has gone up every single year. There's been a record number of illegal border crossers. That is a fact. And they all, and I wonder if they would even come here if they weren't getting the free stuff. I wonder if they weren't getting the free lodging, the free travel, the free food, everything else, the free welfare. I wonder if they would even come here at all. I think if you cut out the welfare state, and the open border, I doubt they even come here at all. And no other country, no other sane country on earth would have an open border and a welfare state, by the way.
Given time got away from me, we have to jump right into the closing statements. Sorry that we didn't get to the last two questions. We are going to start it off with Stephen's 3-minute closing. Thank you very much, Stephen. The floor is all yours.
I think conservatives are delusional. I think they hate this country.
Of course.
I think that they are more aligned with the interests of Donald Trump than they are with anything having to do with the concept of the United States of America. I think it's incredibly sad because I think as much as I used to disagree with conservatives, at least they stood on principle for the United States. I think that today, if another 9/11 happened, I think that conservative MAGA people would be more interested in blaming Kamala Harris than uniting around whoever our common enemy was. And I think that's why you have people like Donald Trump on stage begging and pleading for Russia to release 10,000 emails, or constantly giving praise to foreign dictators, to people like Orban, or saying that he wants his citizens to stand at attention like they do with Kim in North Korea, and why he has so many good things to say for all these authoritarian leaders like Putin.
So here's another thing I had to say. So Joe Biden calls Putin a warmonger, a war criminal. He should be tried at The Hague. But then he wants to negotiate with him to end the war. I'm sorry, if somebody slaps me in the face, I'm not going to listen to him. He's not going to be at my table talking to me. He's lucky he's not going to get the end of my fist right in his face. And that's the problem. These people all think everything's static or linear. It's not. You know, Trump and Putin had a good relationship. So Trump would say, hey, look, you and I are friends. As friendly as, you know, two leaders of opposing countries are. But we get along. We know each other. We're in the same, cut from the same cloth, sort of. I don't want you to do this. Because if you do, then our friendship's at stake. And we're going to become enemies. And I don't want that. So why don't you hold off, or let's figure out another way for you to do this that doesn't go against my beliefs or my country's beliefs. That's probably what Donald Trump does. And when he went to Kim Jong-un, he probably said, hey, look it, buddy. You know, again, you and I are friends. We get along. We enjoy the same McDonald's. But I really don't like you firing missiles and ramping up your nuclear program. And for us to keep friendly and enjoy our McDonald's, and I'll bring you a bottle of Jack Daniels once in a while, you need to stop, or else I'm going to have to bomb you. And I don't want to do that. We're friends. But, you know, it is what it is. This is the cost of you being my friend and getting McDonald's and Jack Daniels and some jeans. Cut the shit out. Because you have these personal relationships with people, whether they're good or bad, that's what makes you a good negotiator. Being in business, sometimes it wasn't always the best price that I gave, but it was the connection I had with my customer that kept me in the game, because they'd rather deal with me than with somebody else, even though my pricing may not have been the best. The problem is people like Destiny do not understand that. That's foreign to them, because that's not taught in school. That's a life skill that you learn. So, anyways.
But he can't find any support from other Democratic leaders around the world. I think uniting around whoever our common enemy was. And I think that's why you have people like Donald Trump on stage begging and pleading for Russia to release 10,000 emails, or constantly giving praise to foreign dictators, to people like Orban, or saying that he wants his citizens to stand at attention like they do with Kim in North Korea. And why he has so many good things to say for all these authoritarian leaders like Putin, but he can't find any support from other Democratic leaders around the world. I think it says something about him. I think it says something about the type of people that would support that. I think it says something about him. And if you have good parents, they told you this, if you can't look at a person, look at who their friends are, or look at who they work with. The idea that his vice president is not running with him again, that should send huge signals to your brain of what's going on here. Where is Mike Pence? Why does Mike Pence say, in contrast to you, that Donald Trump told him to unilaterally choose who the election winner would be? That's Pence's accounting of things, right? Why is it that so many of his ex-cabinet members, over 40 of his ex-cabinet members, won't endorse him for president? Why do you get four-star generals, people like Mark Milley, saying things like Donald Trump would be a fascist?
Because he was
do you have
fired.
Donald Trump himself saying, I would suspend or terminate parts of the Constitution and be a dictator on day one to do the things that I need to do? Why would you have Donald Trump try to weaponize his DOJ to go after his...
So again, I have to say, the reason why Donald Trump says things like that is he's a little bit of a shock jock. You know, he was, the apprentice god and he used to love telling people you're fired. So I look at when I'm in business and I approach my team and I say, I want to do X. They all look at me and go, what the hell? We can't do that. Of course I know we can't do that, but it sets the bar. So if I get close to this, that's where I want to be. But if I start here and say, hey, I want to do A, and I only get down here because my team, mediocrity maybe, well then I didn't get what I want. But by starting with something way up here, grandiose, totally delusional, and I get up over here because my team's trying to make it work, well, then it's a win-win for my team, for me, and for the customer. It's the same thing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will say the wackiest stuff, set the highest bar, because in business you do that. You make the most insane deadline, and if you come close, you're the winner. It's the same thing.
Political opponents. Why would he call into Fox and Friends and say, I think the DOJ needs to start indicting and arresting people, and then accuse Biden of doing it despite the fact that you have absolutely no evidence of it happening, except for maybe pointing to New York State, which isn't even the federal government. Conservatives are just living in an entirely delusional, disconnected from reality world. I hope that after this election there's a huge wake-up call. I guess we'll see what happens. I wish that people could look at this country and see that we genuinely do have problems that aren't always caused by the Jews or illegal immigrants.
No, they're caused by Democrats.
Come together and work on some problems rather than fabricate out of whole cloth these issues that aren't even real issues or don't even exist. I wish that when issues that really were presented against this country, like illegal immigration, were put in front of Congress to solve, that the Republicans would be behind it, along with the Democrats.
Yeah, they'll be solved only if you agree with it, though. That's the problem.
And I think that when you look at the record of leadership, when you compare the Biden administration, of which Harris is the vice president, you saw all of the bipartisan legislation that they got passed, and you compare it to Trump's administration that was
They controlled Congress, both houses. Of course they got their shit passed, dummy. God, he's so stupid. I can't take it. God, give me the strength to accept what I can't change.
the failure in every single conceivable way, whether it was his inability to actually end conflict in the Middle East, he didn't, whether it was ability to actually solve problems with legislation, he didn't, or whether it was his ability to lead a coherent country that was falling apart under BLM riots and COVID lockdowns and all sorts of other things, COVID, which he didn't even acknowledge was real until it was already, tens or hundreds of thousands of cases in this country. And you can see how much he undermined it, how much that bothered him, because he couldn't even get credit for the vaccine that he so desperately wanted his audience to worship him for. I hope that after this election season, I hope we can come together a little bit better and be better Americans and be on the same team again.
Hopefully you'll be done.
Owen, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. He says conservatives hate this country, yet look at my story, look at Donald Trump's story. I came here tonight, I took the time to prepare myself so I don't look like a slob, and I put my American flag lapel pin on because I care about this country. I came here despite, yes, lawyers watching me all the time trying to sue me like ambulance chasers, the federal government watching me all the time because they want to throw me in prison, and I continue to come out here because I love this country. Don't tell me I hate this country. I love this country. This guy comes presented tonight looking like a slob with a Finding Nemo necklace on, okay? That's how serious he is. And by the way, how about Donald Trump? He's been shot at. He's had multiple assassination attempts. They go after his family. They bring him through the courts as well. And he's still fighting for this country. Let's not act like it's conservatives that don't love this country. It's flag-waving conservatives that sang the national anthem on January 6th. They sang the national anthem when Donald Trump went back to Butler, Pennsylvania, where they shot at him. You won't even hear a Democrat sing a national anthem. They kneel for the national anthem. They hate this country. Pretty much everything a Democrat says is projection. And by the way, on the vaccine thing, I disagree with Trump on the vaccine, but it's funny, you notice when Trump was president with the vaccine, Kamala Harris and everybody said, don't take the vaccine, it's the worst. As soon as Biden got in, they all loved the vaccine. Did you take the vaccine? I sure hope not. By the way, ask yourself this. How much money is spent on elections? Billions of dollars. Why? Why is so much money spent on an election? Because power. That's why. Power. So ask yourself in follow-up, Are elections ever stolen? Is there ever any voter fraud? Can you really tell yourself no to these questions?
So to that point, I say, to Destiny, why would Democrats be against voter ID if they're not anti-Americans? Why would Democrats be against voter rolls being purged of non-citizens if they're not anti-American? Why would Democrats be against in-person or ID or in ballot or paper ballot voting if they weren't anti-American? Because the only thing this does, the way they're trying to do it now, is set it up to be rigged. Because there's a saying, listen, there's a saying, if it wasn't for corruption, the Dailies wouldn't win an election in Chicago. There's a reason why that terminology and that phrase is out there, because the Democrats steal elections. It's quite that simple. You shouldn't allow same-day voting for specifically the reason it's rife for corruption, because you can walk into your polling place and register to vote and be registered in another polling place to vote. And they don't have time to cross-reference the information. If you own a house in, for argument's sake, New York City, and you own a house in Plattsburgh, well, if you really wanted to, you can go vote in New York City, you can go vote in Plattsburgh. Unless they catch it, they got 2 votes. Because our system isn't designed like that. But if it's in-person voting or ballot only or paper ballot only, so it's mailed to your residence, well, you're not registered to vote. You can't do it. My buddy argued with me on this, and he said, "Well, I work for the legislature, and I was in the election committee, and I know how it works." All these systems only work if you're honest. If you're a dishonest person, the system is gonna be dishonest. That's just the way it is. And why they don't want to hold people to the honesty, I don't understand. Because if they did, then they couldn't steal the election.
Or are you going to sit here and believe everything the government tells you and everything the establishment media tells you? And you notice that's where he goes with everything.
Everything.
He keeps citing people that work for the government their whole lives. He keeps citing mainstream media talking points. So you can choose to live your life trusting the mainstream media, but guess what? You're going to be the one that's deceived. You're going to be deceived about war in the Middle East, weapons of mass destruction, Russian collusion, the vaccine is safe and effective. You name it. They deceive you on everything, and he comes up here and parrots their talking points and acts like he's put in an effort tonight. And just for clarification, Pence was not asked to decide who the winner was. He was asked to delay the certification. So let's just, again, get that straight. But in closing,
delay the certification to make sure that all of the challenges had gone through the courts in a timely fashion. I don't know why that was such a big deal.
Closing, I would say this. You have 2 choices. It's very simple. You can either be pro-establishment, pro-big government, pro-mainstream media telling you what to do, how to live, pro-government telling you what to do, how to live. You can accept that our government and our media has been corrupt for decades. Probably everyone in this room's entire life, our government has been corrupt. This is not a message for the right. This is not a message for the left. This is a message for Americans. We have a corrupt government. We have a corrupt media. That's what we're addressing. That's what we want to overthrow. Those are the people trying to stop Donald Trump. That's why I support Donald Trump, and I hope this reformation with a populist anti-establishment movement in the Republican Party is here to stay.
There we go.
Thank you very much to both of our speakers. Thanks so much for coming out tonight, folks. It's been a true pleasure.
So I hope you guys liked that debate. Unfortunately, I am. It was hard for me to keep my mouth shut because I wanted to. Oh my God! I wanted to punch that guy in the face. The lies and the indignant comments and the hypocrisy and just, I don't know, man. These ultra left-wing liberals are loons, and they have this holier than thou attitude that they know everything. They'll throw out all sorts of jargon and names and dates and times and blah 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 that make you feel stupid because you're like, well, I don't. I didn't know that. But then you come to find out, you fact check it, and it's all lies. There wasn't one thing Destiny said there that made any sense, or was that all true? It was all propaganda, and it was all, I mean, he may have been freaking sleeping with Rachel Mad Cow because he sounded just like her. Actually, I think it could be a male version of her. Maybe she's alter ego. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed it. Please, guys, like, subscribe, share it. We're really trying to increase what we do here. I hope you enjoyed. And we're going to have another podcast coming in a couple of days. And if you have any show ideas, shoot me an email. Till we meet again. We were great, we were free, had a country that couldn't be beat. We were right